Understimulation hit me like a truck yesterday. I wanted to film a video and I was excited. I had an idea of what I was going to do it on. And then I woke up with the worst stomach ache ever. It's a really pervasive feeling, and you can't really control when it happens or how long it happens for. Anyone can get understimulated, but it's really prevalent among the neurodivergent community. Think people with ADHD and autism. For me, I get a really horrible headache when I get understimulated. My head hurts and I feel lethargic. All I want to do is sleep, but no matter how much sleep I get, I always wake up feeling restless. Thankfully, I've come up with ways to overcome understimulation, and now I'd like to share some of them with you. Here are my tips on how to stop understimulation. The first thing I recommend is what you're already doing. Yay! And that's learning more about understimulation. The first time I ever learned about understimulation, it felt like an epiphany for a feeling that I previously hadn't even been able to describe. I never knew why my classmates would want to stay out of school past summer vacation or have a longer winter break, because halfway through, I would always get so melancholy and restless for seemingly no reason. I just thought that I was weird or being dramatic because I would get a horrible headache and my stomach would hurt, but I never left the house long enough to catch an illness. Sometimes I would dissociate by daydreaming or watching TV to escape how I was feeling, but even that wasn't enough to stop it. So a lot of the time, I would walk around the house aimlessly for hours, wanting to do something, but not having the energy to start. That's why I highly recommend writing down some of the points I'll make and identifying your own signs. It's best to nip understimulation in the bud. The faster you can recognize the signs, the quicker you'll be able to recover. With that in mind, let's go on to my second tip. If you're going to do anything, you should definitely place yourself in an environment that's the right temperature for you. If you're anything like me and you get physical manifestations of understimulation, then this should be taken care of as soon as possible. After all, you're not going to want to do anything while feeling sick. Once I regulate my body temperature, I start to feel a little better, and hopefully you will too. For neurodivergent people, though, your body won't always tell you how you're feeling. And that's why it's so important to be intentional when it comes to seeking out your preferences on things like temperature. I'm very sensitive to heat, but I don't always know when I'm getting overheated. I'll do things like fanning myself or putting something cold under my shirt, but I don't realize that I'm doing it unless I suspect understimulation. And that's when I can start to recognize the actions that I'm doing. What I do to help my temperature come down is by turning on the fan, closing my curtains, and putting a damp cloth on the back of my neck. For years, I thought that I was caring for myself by staying in my room because all I wanted to do was sleep. But if you keep to one place or the exact same routine, you're actually denying yourself of the mental stimulation that's going to get you back on track. That's why understimulation is so difficult, I think, because you have to get up and do something, even when that's the last thing you want to do. That's why I say you should start with something of minimal effort and maximum benefits. I love music, for example, and I'll usually want to get up and move around in some way, like walking, while I'm listening to it. Music is a great way to get people energized, and even if you're having trouble getting out of bed, you can still gain motivation from it. I have this game on my phone, Music Tiles, that I highly recommend. It allows me to listen and tap my fingers along to songs that I like, so I get mental stimuli and I get to stim too. On days where I may not feel well enough to get out of bed, this is a lifesaver. Other ways you can get some quick stimulation include talking with friends, playing with pets, and using a fidget toy. Hobbies you're confident you'll enjoy are great too. If and when you start to feel better, you can move on to the next tip, which is this is going to sound really simple, but it's one of the most important things you can do to improve your mental health. We're looking for stimuli, something that's going to give us a pleasant amount of energy. So maybe you can try out that new restaurant or park. You can choose to take a different route to work or maybe use a different form of transportation. Maybe you want to stick to places you already know. In that case, you can visit places that aren't in your daily routine. This doesn't have to be a permanent change, and you can go back to your daily activities once you're feeling rejuvenated. This is just to get your mind off autopilot by having it take in new surroundings. It doesn't even have to be a big change. You know what got me out of my slump yesterday? Kept my curtains closed. That was all the change I needed to get out of bed. In order to keep yourself from getting understimulated again, it's a very good idea to keep finding more places to go to. Now, my last and final point is these tips can definitely help to quicken the recovery process of understimulation, but even with them, understimulation may still take quite some time. It's not really something that you can clean your hands of in an hour. For me, it can take a few days of trying to be mentally stimulated again for me to fully recover. It's perfectly normal to struggle to even get the ball rolling. Something that keeps me going is knowing that no matter how hopeless it feels, understimulation is temporary. Even if you don't use any of the tips I provided, sooner or later you'll have to be jolted out of the state. Even when I didn't know about understimulation, I knew that once school started up again, the feelings that I was getting during summer break would melt away. By clicking on this video, you are showing yourself that you want and are willing to overcome understimulation. That's already you learning how to take better care of yourself. That's already something that you should be proud of. And even if people around you don't empathize with your situation, I hope that me sharing my story helps you feel a little less alone. Alright, guys, that's going to be all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's any tips that you thought should have been added in this video, I would love to see them in the comments below. Bye now!